The price of Bitcoin still trading at the low 90K levels, and we're still very much in a heavy downtrend for the last few weeks and even last few days. Now, there are signs of a reversal. We'll be breaking down this, guys, because you will understand what we are looking for. You always need to consider the local bearish case scenario, right? Is there one more low possible? Well, eventually, most of the times, it's always possible. And we'll be breaking down the two different options that I'm looking at here, but it is looking pretty okay. Now, discussing the higher time frames, guys, and then the lower time frames, going even to the 5-minute time frame to discuss a few things that we were talking about on yesterday's stream, okay? Now, today's a very important level. Make sure to trade safe. You do have FOMC minutes, building permits, tomorrow non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate. We got a packed few days here of big news that could bring some local volatility, that could break the technicals. So we need to be very defensive as traders. Something good is that most of the liquidity is sitting to the upside, but it is true that we have been building up a little bit of liquidity below $90,000. So could we fetch that liquidity before getting the bounce or not? This is something that we are going to discuss. Guys, remember, you do get incredible bonuses down below with the links, guys. 15% cashback on bluffing up to $3,000. You deposit $30,000, you'll be getting $3,000 on top of that, guys, okay? So make sure to take advantage because that will increase your trading capital. $10,000 in rewards on BTCC. You can trade stocks and gold here using crypto. Now, to get this, you basically just need to deposit and trade, and you'll be getting airdrops to your account, guys. Take advantage of the links down below, bluffing BTCC, to get these bonuses. Let's break down here the bearish case scenario. It is over. We're downtrending. We're just going to get little bounces and just continue crumbling to the downside, right? When is the bounce going to happen? We do have signs of a bounce, and we can detect them on the lower time frames. That's what we're going to break down later on. Most bearish case scenario, we continue to the downside, either getting a larger relief rally to the $100,000 range in another 1 and 2. Big move from all-time high to the downside, 1, 2, 1, 2, another 1 and 2 on the formation. And then depending on how we move up here, that could happen in the next coming days, we need to detect if it's looking corrective or if it's looking impulsive, okay? This is higher time frame. We still need that information, and we need it to either detect the high probability of rolling over again, or actually, really going to higher levels and forming a higher low, right? Getting a recovery. Now, we might not get this bounce. On the most bearish case scenario, which I think has low probability, we are looking for that bounce to inevitably happen at some point. The problem is the lower time frame, the 15-5-minute, which we'll be breaking down right away. But there is a possibility always of capitulating. There's always a capitulation possibility, especially when you have this packed news. We never know how this news is going to impact. So, if the news is going to be very, very bad, you could just have that nuke movement down, capitulating down to $80K or even $70,000, right? Who knows? But that would mean that you're basically in the development of the wave 3, and that's it. You're just literally rolling down, and that's the part of your wave 3. All of this is part of your wave 3, and it's just going to crumble down with small little bounces. Have to say, you just need to take it into consideration. That's where you need to know your entries, the signs of strength, okay, and the signs of bottoming out to look for those longs. Shorts were taken throughout the previous weeks, okay, throughout the last couple of weeks, looking for rejection points. And right now, I'm not that interested in looking for shorts down here on these small little movements, bounce up, bounce up. It does look very interesting for the bullish case. Bullish case scenario, we have a WXY, which is literally a wave W in your flat, looking at all-time high here in August. Flat structure for wave W, very possible. You have a zigzag up in your wave X, even though it's relatively quick in time, not the preferred scenario based on timing, but it's structure, so it is a valid count. And now your zigzag to the downside. Now, the common target for your ABC general zigzag is the 121 to the 1236 extension, preferably not hitting the 1.618. In this case, it's down at 80K. So we just hit the 1-to-1 from this possible Y structure in this ABC. 1236 could be hit. That's coming down at $85,000 when we consider the target zones and looking at the higher time frame picture of this WXY to get the measurement. We get the start of W to the end of W, which is a flat, remember. We got wave X in a zigzag up. And of course, the 1-to-1 to the 1236 is the common area. And that's where we are dancing at the 1236, which is the 90K level. You could stretch your legs a little bit further to the downside. Preferably uncommon is hitting the 1.618, which is coming down at $83,000. But scratching down a little bit, a few thousand more, is possible. So we just need to take it into consideration. But this bullish case scenario is literally looking for the bottom of this movement down and coming all the way up to all-time high in the next coming months, maybe even coming weeks, right? A WXY means it's the end of a corrective structure. You can't combine it in any other way, okay? So it would give you that possibility of coming up to all-time high in the next couple of months, right? Which kind of seems unreal right now with the 4-year cycle theory, guys. So it's just something that we take into consideration when we talk about Elliott wave theory, okay? Of course, we're going to have to see a lot getting developed to even have those possible projections. But regarding corrective structures, it has the potential. And if it has the potential, we take it into consideration. Now, moving to the downside here, since the highs that we had on the 10th of November, how can we develop this structure? We talked about this yesterday, where there is a possibility of a low being in on this latest move down. This is this latest move to the downside. This is the structure that I am interested in. Every time we get a movement down, I'm interested from the highs to the lows to see what's developed, because that's where we can spot our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC top of the fourth wave rollover. Now, from this last lower high of the 10th of November, that's where we are interested in analyzing very carefully this movement to the downside. So when we do zoom in on the 15-minute time frame, yes, there is a chance, of course, that we do have a local low in right there, right? The local low is in, and that is looking at this movement down, where you have structure, which is the most important thing. Then the timing comes second, right? But structure overall is very important. You have the 1, 2, 1, 2, the third wave. That is pretty clear. The problem comes in right now with the 4 5s, right? Because your 4 5s can be a little bit tricky. You can consider all of this movement as a flat, which we need to obviously talk about, right? So right over here, what we do have is also this scenario. Your wave 4, your wave 5. You claimed the lows. You can count a 4 and a 5. Then you have a lower high and then another low right over here. Another 4 and 5 from the higher time frame. So this ending up in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's how we would label this movement for a finish impulsive move to the downside. Now, where are the problems? The problems are in this range. This, unfortunately, okay, for the bulls can be counted as a running flat, okay? You do have the zigzag down and a little bit of a movement up that can be counted as an impulse, but a running flat basically sideways, which is very common for your fourth wave. Just taking this into consideration, that all of this, it's a little bit long in time compared to these wave 2s, so that impacts eventually the different probabilities here. It does affect it. But overall, we understand that, you know, it can be a wave 4, right? It's not extremely longer, okay? But in wave 4s are usually longer than wave 2s. As we take that into consideration, we only have 1, 4, and 5. And as we have 2, 1, 2s, then eventually you're looking for another 4 and 5, okay? So one more low could definitely happen if we consider all of this structure a running flat for your wave 4, right? It's just something that we take into consideration. Now, it would be ideal to claim those highs, form a little bit of a zigzag. Most commonly here, your higher time frame wave 4 does not claim the highs of your lower time frame wave 4, so you would be looking for a topping formation here, either a double top, not reaching these highs at 95.8k, and at some point see that, you know, weakness if we do get up there. Now, if the price does decide to roll over from here, Well, this would have to be the wave 4, and then you were looking for the last leg down in the wave 5. That's how we would count this structure. So it's either somewhere another high right over here or this one right over here. And this would be extremely important. I am very interested in monitoring this price action because I will know how to identify, the high probability, bottoming formation here to then get that big fat reversal. Big fat reversal could happen from this point. There is a valid count. And why is there a valid count? Well, when we do zoom in on the lower time frames, we were discussing this. This has the potential either for a double zigzag. There is a way of getting a double zigzag here, but it does have an okay chance of being a 5-wave structure. This movement to the downside, what is good and interesting that this latest move down should have been your wave 3, and that's where you should have had your 4-5 right and get that crumble formation, okay? And your wave 3 here, we got a pretty decent bounce that overlapped this pivot low. That is already a good sign. Now, we do have the possibility, as explained yesterday, to actually find the lows here below $91,000 and reverse, taking into consideration this. The good thing is that we have had some pretty interesting bullish CVD divergence here, which is giving us the chance to claim the highs at 93.9K. We are heavily downtrending, trying to spot the reversal signs. Eventually is complex, guys. We just need to be aware that we are downtrending and the structure is down. We do have signs of a reversal and they're very, very hard to detect, okay? But we have some signs eventually, as mentioned, okay? There are some signs, as explained here. This could have been the end, all right, of the movement down. Do we have one more 4 and one more 5? Something that we need to be aware of, but I would be extremely interested if we were to roll down and claim the lows again to look for the possible reversal signs, okay? Very, very patient, no rush. This is like looking for the higher time frame reversal, okay, that could be cooking eventually for the next coming days. And that's what we are trying to spot. We'll be doing a live stream later on, guys, so make sure to stay tuned. It is looking quite okay right now for the price to, bottom in this zone. Just stay cautious. We have lost the previous day value area zone. We opened above previous day value area high and we just lost the previous day value zone, okay? So we are literally in sign. If we do get that clearance of the previous day value area high here, it will be a good sign that we're likely just going to get above $94,000 maybe throughout today. We got some news today. We got volatility. Stay cautious. If it's good news, we look for the rally. If it's bad news, it might just dump, okay, throughout, between today and tomorrow. It is looking pretty okay, guys. There is a good chance that we could form a higher low here. We got bullish CVD divergence. We got a potential impulsive move up. We got this movement down that's been a 3-waver for the moment as we do have this bounce overlapping the pivot lows. It's looking pretty okay to claim above $93,800 maybe throughout the day, okay? So we're going to have to see how we develop that, all right? It's looking pretty interesting for the price to actually maintain this area, all right, and form a higher low in this region. If you want to play the safe bet, well, you do have the lower high trend breakout. That is very, very possible if we are considering the chance of forming a 3-wave move up here, regardless if this is going to be an ABC or if it's going to be a 1, 2, 3, and we actually stretch our legs throughout today and tomorrow. The safer bet eventually is always looking for the trend breakout, right? If you do get that trend breakout, eventually we could go to slightly higher levels, claim those highs. But as mentioned, there is a possibility here, okay? So make sure to trade safe, stay safe, and I will catch you all in the live stream later.